I have been wanting to discuss the topic about 5D Ascension that we are all hearing about. If you haven't heard it, hopefully you will. In understanding these concepts, we must explore dimensions and densities, two concepts often confused but fundamentally distinct in science and philosophy. I'd like to look at this clearly and practically because this subject is critical to our evolution as a civilization. This video will unpack their differences, why they matter, and how they shape our understanding of our lives. So let's open our minds, lighten our hearts, and take a step into the future. Many podcasters are talking about moving from 3D to 5D, but they never seem to explain what this means. Many have come to understand that it means we must be better people to create a world worthy of all this new technology. Others don't have a clue where it's coming from and they don't want to know. They only want the beds. It's naive to think that we can abuse our bodies in every way and just wave a wand and make our irresponsible actions go away. I'm not judging anyone. We all have our reasons and lessons for everything we do. If we eat fried food every night, then we know we aren't trying to be healthy. But what about when we eat a healthy vegetarian meal, and it's loaded with canola oil and high fructose corn syrup? I believe there will be an honesty required in advertising again, safety requirements for what touches our precious bodies, perhaps even free mentoring to help us learn new behavior patterns. The shift upward is everywhere, guys, and if you want a better understanding of what is happening in our world, we've got to figure out what this elusive 5D that everybody talks about, but few adequately describe it from a practical standpoint. It is so rewarding to me watching many of you grow and evolve in consciousness. I perceive your brains working like they haven't in a long time, and I perceive a level of peace and understanding growing within many of you. We are all matches made in heaven because we have a deep desire to grow spiritually and in consciousness. We want a better world and we want to be better people, though some are misplaced as to what it takes to do that. It's not by name calling or calling people liars. It's by realizing that we are all fractals of the same source. As our perspective changes, it becomes easier to see the divinity in others, even when they don't see it in us. Sometimes I think our conscious thought works against us. We try to noodle everything out at a conscious level, but our three-dimensional thought holds us back. This is why many innovators are scoffed at, because most only see the world in three-dimensional boxes. One person who sees things outside the box is our beautiful Patricia Crosby 5053. First, let me remind you to give this video the thumbs up if you like it. Be one of our first 100K subscribers. Ring the bell for notifications. Use the shop button to help support the channel. And I hope to launch a membership program which will keep everything as it is and offer more personal consultations. So if you are on medicines or herbs, I can help you screen for interactions or side effects and help you use them more effectively. I'm still working on it, but I am shooting to have them set up by April 2nd. The program is evolving, and I will keep you posted. So let's listen to Patricia's concerns.
We've all been watching our planet be destroyed from within. Our governments infiltrated. Medicine infiltrated. Agriculture infiltrated. Education infiltrated. We are not always moving forward. God didn't envision that for his people either. I believe other alien life forms have watched this happen over a very long time. It's not all bad, but maybe some things can't be totally brought back either. For a while now, I've had the feeling, after watching Jetson White, that some people might be staying here on Earth and continue to work towards peace, restructuring, restoring, while others are going to ascend to light ships from other planets and learn, get ourselves restored to our DNA from conception. Jetson doesn't say this black and white, but I feel it is so and something to think on. That we will learn new technologies and how to make Earth a better place for all. This has been on my mind for a long time. Trying to figure it out was uneasy for me. But I still come back to it, Earth or elsewhere. I'm thinking God gives us choice, and when this rapture event happens, we all can choose. It's just my thoughts, my thinking, but it's been heavy on my heart and mind. Ismael Perez also talks about a fifth dimension we are going to. I know we're changing, I feel it too. Time will tell. It seems biblical to me when others talk about it. I've heard it from a lot of views. I'm always open to learn more, get others' take on the subject.
I understand the confusion, Patricia. To destroy the Earth from within has always been the playbook of the elite. You wouldn't believe the crazy things that these people plan to do. The immigration, the food supply, the destruction of the family. It was all written down decades ago. There have been many secret meetings of the elite plotting on the best thing for our planet in their eyes, and you and I aren't invited. Regarding aliens, there are numerous extraterrestrial alliances, but we are working most closely with the Galactic Federation of Worlds through the Earth Alliance. There appear to be other extraterrestrial affiliations that are helping us, but the GFW has been the organization most involved with our evolution. In his first term, Trump got the cooperation of world leaders, either voluntarily or through capitulation when shown evidence of their wrongdoings. This is how the world has come together. I will be putting additional videos at the end and in the description addressing these actions. When you say you feel like we are being watched, you are also right. In fact, when I was at the Sky event with the ET crafts, it was clear that they knew everything that was going on in our group. Many have also said when we see a UFO or UAP in the sky that they know that we are watching them. Whether this is part of God's plan or not is debatable. There are the concepts of renewal and growth in many beliefs, that God sends these sparks out to evolve and keep the energy moving. Energy never dies because of a fundamental principle in physics called the law of conservation of energy. It states that energy can't be created or destroyed, only transformed from one form to another. Think of it like water. It might turn into steam or ice, but it doesn't vanish. In our universe, energy is always shifting. Heat becomes motion, motion becomes light, light becomes heat again. This constant dance keeps it alive in a sense, flowing through systems like stars, plants, or even your morning coffee. If all energy stopped moving and every particle was frozen at absolute zero, it wouldn't die. The science behind us is that we don't ever die. We just change form, just like water. This is going to tie in when we speak of 5D. Yes, you are correct. Other alien life forms have watched this happen. They have watched it in the sense that they have been watching what we have been doing for many, many years, and they even had a hand in some of what has happened. By both good aliens, but also bad aliens have watched and infiltrated our civilization. The Federation stepped in primarily due to concerns of nuclear proliferation on Earth. From a broader standpoint, the Federation and other ETs have been watching and helping many other worlds struggle through the same difficulties with the constant struggles between good and evil. Also, it is Earth's time. I always compare the Federation to the scene in the movie Contact, where Jodie Foster meets the ET who looks like her father, and he tells her that they must take it slow and that this is the way that it's been done for billions of years. A bonus tip in that movie that I think is key and related to the fifth density. They had hours of videotape, but neither Foster or the spacecraft ever physically went anywhere. The movie hits it right on the head, and yet it passes us by. Begin to see the world from a different perspective. Begin to imagine going somewhere without ever going anywhere. As far as some staying here and some ascending to light ships, you are probably right there as some won't. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to leave us to go to a light ship. Remember that there are two parts of us, the seen and the unseen. We need to begin to start thinking of the possibilities in the unseen. We have been being mentored related to advanced technologies for some time now, and I believe this will continue as we evolve. You bring up a good point about 5D. Some say that it is referred to the fifth dimension, but others, including Elena Danaan, maintain that it refers to the fifth density. I have looked into this, and there is a distinct difference in the two. A dimension is a state of existence. The fifth dimension is a shift in how we experience or see reality. It's more of a mental leap via consciousness. It's spatial and vibrational and less about where you go and more how you see it. Three-dimensional is our current spatial world of length, width, and height. 4D, from a dimensional standpoint, adds time experientially. This 5D is often unity or non-duality. Density is a measure of evolutionary vibrational state, a soul progression or upgrade, moving to a more ethereal form, becoming more spirit and less physical. In the Law of One by Ra, third density is human awareness. Fourth is love and compassion, and fifth is wisdom and light. As our density increases, our spiritual mass increases. Fifth dimension is a higher consciousness state, and fifth density is an evolutionary soul plane. Having made that distinction, I believe that ascending density also typically elevates dimension as consciousness expands vibrationally. I believe that soul evolution does unlock new senses, though it's my understanding that one can lag behind the other. Regarding the potential analogy with the rapture, I'm not a biblical expert at all, so please understand that I am merely exploring the subjects from a biblical standpoint, but could the rapture notion be consistent with becoming more ethereal? I had to look it up, and there appears to be significant differences regarding the rapture between the Old and New Testaments. I've always wondered about this one. Who changed the original Bible and why? The Old Testament was the Jewish Bible written in Hebrew. It's their sacred story of God, laws, and history. After Jesus showed up on earth, his followers believed he was the Messiah that the Old Testament hinted at. After Jesus died and rose, his disciples started writing the New Testament. It's maintained that the New Testament wasn't a rewrite of the Old Testament, but was added to in order to recognize Jesus, who was not mentioned in the Old Testament. Personally, I wonder who in the world took it upon themselves to amend the Bible. I found this quite surprising, but it makes sense because the Old Testament predates Jesus, and apparently, and I've heard many times that Jesus was God's only begotten Son. However, this wasn't declared until the New Testament because there was not mention of Jesus in the Old Testament. I never knew this. But I have always felt that the Old Testament should not just be put aside, and inherently I have relied more on the Old Testament for God's Word. In the United Kingdom, the King James Version, which is the most popular version of the Bible, is under perpetual Crown copyright managed by Cambridge University Press. Other versions are also copyrighted by various entities. So this has always made me question the New Testament. So I am very reticent to rely on any book that is copyrighted, especially by the British Crown. My reasons for this will become clear in the future if the British family is exposed for their connections to satanic rituals, which has been reported by many. Time will tell, and it's not my intention to denigrate anyone's spiritual beliefs. It's merely a discussion of things that have concerned me for very years. With this understanding, the Old Testament refers to God's earthly kingdom, not a mid-air handoff to Jesus like the New Testament. Interestingly, there is no mention of either Jesus or the rapture in the Old Testament, but there are notions of spirits elevating. In the Old Testament, Daniel 12:2 says that multitudes who sleep in the dust will awake, some to everlasting life. While man has interpreted this to be a physical awakening, there is no such inference. Literally, and knowing what I do about the unseen realm, I consider things beyond physical constraints. Just knowing this difference between the Old and the New Testaments is significant to me. Is Daniel 12:2 a reference to the current days? There's no mention of bodies, spirits, or how they awake, just that they do. There are no location given such as the sky, earth, or elsewhere for this awakening. This was all added in the New Testament. The Old Testament does not describe how this happens, such as God, angels, or a natural event, just that multitudes will awaken. There's also no timing beyond the words "at that time," linked to distress and Michael's rise. So does the Old Testament refer to what was later termed the rapture, substituting Jesus for God? I don't know, but it's clear to me that the physical connotations of the rapture were not part of the original text. There are numerous other spiritual writings beyond the Bible that describe scenarios resembling the rapture, such as a sudden gathering, ascent, or transformation of people into a higher state or place. I ask you to change your perspective beyond the physical 3 dimensions as we look at these. The Dead Sea Scrolls state that the sons of righteousness shall shine when the world is darkened, and later God's mighty hand will lift them. There's no reference to a mid-air meetup, but a divine rescue and elevation of the faithful during an end-time clash. The Book of Enoch 50:1-5 states, "In those days the righteous will rise, and the glory of the elect one will be manifest." The Quran in Surah 56:88-94 states, "The day of resurrection, when the sight is dazed and the moon is darkened, man will say, 'Where is the escape?'" Note, there is no mid-air snatch, but a mass rising of souls for judgment, with some taken to paradise. The law of one in raw material refers to the harvest, when those of positive orientation will ascend to the 4th density, a rapture-like harvest where ready souls shift to a higher vibration, leaving the physical behind. The Baha'i writings of the 19th century defines gleanings as the time that cometh when the righteous shall be gathered into the presence of God. Many Christians believe that when the spirit leaves the body, that the body dies. This is not the belief in many religions. There is something known as the silver string that binds the spirit to the body. Perhaps you've heard of astral projection or remote viewing, where the spirit or consciousness can travel to other places without the body dying. Quickly, let me explain the difference. Astral projection and remote viewing both involve perceiving beyond the physical, but they're like different tools in our psychic toolbox. Astral projection is the full out-of-body experience. Your spirit or consciousness leaves your body, travels through an astral plane or a non-physical realm, and explores. Think about floating above your bed or soaring over landscapes, tethered by that silver cord to your still living body. Remote viewing, on the other hand, is more like a mental Zoom call. You stay in your body, fully awake, and use your mind to see distant places, people, or events, past, present, or future. It's not about leaving, it's about extending your perception. Developed in the 70s by the US military under the Stargate project, it's more structured, perhaps identifying coordinates or creating sketches, but not astral adventures. Your consciousness doesn't travel, it tunes in, like a radio picking up a signal. Wild, isn't it? So you see that there are many religions and philosophies that describe a lifting of the spirit out of the Bible while we are alive. I personally have experienced this out-of-body phenomenon, so I don't necessarily equate the upcoming 5D elevation as a death, or even that my body will leave Earth. I do believe that we will be ascending in both dimension and density, but there seems to be a lack of general understanding in this area. I have no fear, and it's my deep desire to explore the spirit more. There are many densities above fifth density. In fact, the notion of spiritual density comes from spiritual or esoteric frameworks such as Law of One, not science. They're levels of consciousness or existence, not physical spaces. The Law of One describes 8 different densities, with the 8th being infinity, merging with the Creator. We then loop back to first density and begin a new cycle. I understand that this is difficult for some, but remember that energy is everything, and energy never dies. Dimensions, however, are spatial or temporal axes. They are how we measure or perceive reality, but is there much more out there that we can't yet perceive? I say yes, and that these unknown dimensions will begin to unfold and we evolve. Standard physics recognizes 4 dimensions, 3 spatial, being length, width, height, and then there's time. String theory describes 10 or 11 dimensions. String theory hypothesizes tiny, curled-up extraspatial dimensions beyond the 4 we can see. There has been no direct observation of this. They're subatomic, not human scale. The mainstream guess in physics today is that there are 11 dimensions. These are theoretical dimensions needed for equations to work, such as unifying gravity and quantum mechanics, but they remain unproven. So in summary, you should realize that 5D can refer to elevating to a 5th dimension that moves beyond our current awareness of space and time. As we progress, we will become more selfless and more aware of our oneness with all things. Moving to the 5th density, however, begins to free our spirit, not necessarily to the point of physical death. Rather, we will be free to travel to other worlds without going anywhere, whether through astral projection or remote viewing. It is my belief that there are already resources, and the reality is that it's more of a practice than a learning. In fact, I have often wondered if medbed healing will occur in higher densities, through either remote viewing or astral projection. There certainly has been a lot of military research done on both over the years. So my friends, I want you to have no preconceived notions about our elevation or about medbeds. Until next time, I'd like you to consider the following. An open heart sees what a closed mind misses, and the moment you assume, you blind yourself to what is.